The numbers are just so important. We have to look at them on a consistent basis. But I know sometimes business owners, they just don't want to look at the numbers because they're afraid of what the numbers might tell them.
So being able to give them more value is something that's definitely changed from, when I first started my business. Working with a bookkeeper means you have someone who's going to double check your work. And that is really important. That's really beneficial tax-wise to my client. That is going to make the most sense. And what accounts can I create that is going to give the most value to my clients.
At the end of the day, if you want to scale, you got to find, leverage. It's business owners is all about leverage. How can I, save time here so I can spend time on more higher leverage things? Welcome back to another episode of the A-Lister Show. Today, I have a special guest. Her name is Nhela Vehar, and she runs a bookkeeping service right here in San Diego. And I'm excited to find out more about her and her business and what she's been up to. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So tell us about what it is you do.
Yeah, so I run a bookkeeping and fractional CFO service firm. We help businesses grow through visual financials and knowing where your money is going.
Okay. So what is visual financials actually?
Yeah. So they're like traditional financial statements, but for those of us who don't have accounting degrees, they provide your financial statements in a visual form. So I can take any data that you want to know, say you want to know like how profitable you are. I could put that use the financial statements and the data that I create there and put it into visual form, just so you know what your business is doing and if you're profitable or, how much you're spending on, different services here and there. But it shows you in another lens how your business is doing.
Cool. How did you get into bookkeeping?
Yeah, so I started off my career in accounting at KPMG, a public accounting firm. I was in audit and financial due diligence. I went to a few startups after some time in public accounting, and then I started my own firm earlier this year.
Awesome. So you've been in business just this year. I mean, for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you like being in business and being a business owner?
I like it. I like that I can give information to my clients. You don't find that in accounting. We're kind of people who we're introverted, right? So we kind of like to stay to ourselves. And it definitely in public accounting, you do not talk to the client. You don't tell them how their books are. You don't tell them what you're looking at. And similar to private equity as well, you're not really working with your clients. You're usually working with like a large fund. So working with my clients is really fun. I love being able to provide the data for them to really help their businesses grow. And also give that customized service where you can say, hey, I really want to know this, and be able to provide you that information.
Cool. And has it been a lot different working as a business owner compared to like working as an employee in a similar field?
Yes, I am doing marketing and I'm on a podcast. Yes, I am definitely, putting myself out there, going to events, talking to more people, things that I never did in corporate.
Yeah. And so the marketing thing is funny because a lot of times people, they get into business because they have like one skill and then they realize, I'm not doing that thing that I thought I was going to be doing. Now I'm actually running a business. And that's a really big kind of eye-opener for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely an eye-opener.
Yeah. What kind of clients do you work with?
I work with small businesses, mostly small businesses being under $5 million in revenue a year. I love to stay in I like to stay under the 5 million. I will take a business making more. I love a service-based business. You could be an LLC, S Corp. Those are two type of businesses that I tend to take on. And
Yeah.
You want financial insights to grow your business.
Cool. Awesome. And what kind of clients do you work with these days?
Yeah. So my clients range. I've worked with private equity funds, pre-revenue startups, content creators, small service-based businesses like psychiatrists and dentists and doctors.
Okay. And so content creator is kind of a new one. What's it been like working with content creators?
Oh, I love it. It's my favorite for sure. It's, in this day and age, it's fast money, but also you could see the work that content creators are putting into their content, whether it be, creating videos on Instagram or TikTok, or doing brand deals and events. I love being able to help out with that, whether it be you have profit goals and you want to say, I really want to pay myself this amount of this amount of money each month. Like, how do I get there? Mm-hmm. And what do my deals need to look like in order to be paid that amount? I love it.
Okay, cool. What's your journey been like growing your business over the past year?
It's been long. It feels like it's been more than 1 year, but it's been rewarding and fun, and I know I can do it. I was very picky in the beginning of who I took on for clients. I said, I only want to do fractional CFO services. So I took on really big clients, and now I love, the smaller clients. And I said, okay, I want fractional CFO services, but bookkeeping is, really where my heart is. So being able to now take on clients that are smaller, but I'm being able to give them more value is something that's definitely changed from, when I first started my business.
Yeah. Bookkeeping is like one of the things that as business owners, we don't like to do. In fact, most of us hate doing it. I'm a business coach, so I talk to businesses all the time. Yeah. And a lot of people they don't know their numbers. They think it's just not important. They just see the numbers, the money coming in their bank account every month, and they're like, I made 10 grand last month. I'm like, well, actually, you got 10 grand in sales last month, right? So do you find it's hard to kind of work with new business owners that don't understand the value of a bookkeeper?
No, because I think after the first month, they really realize how working with a bookkeeper is and how important the financial data is for their business. Whether it be, they didn't know, I didn't know I had this subscription and I was paying, this amount towards software, or which I have that problem too. Sometimes I'm like, I signed up for that software. Or they'll say, I'm really ready to expand. I want to hire an assistant. Can I afford an assistant? Like, what does that look like? So you really learn the value really quickly, especially when you are, paying out of your personal account to cover your business expenses. You get really interested in the money very quickly after that.
That's a big one. A lot of people that are just getting started, they have their personal funds and their business funds commingled. Do you have any tips for business owners that are just getting started in terms of what they can do to kind of get their finances in check in their small business?
Yeah. Create a business account right away. Document that investment towards your business as an owner's investment. And that way it's very clear in your books, but you're also, you know that you've given the money to the business.
Yeah. And why would somebody want to work with a bookkeeper instead of just doing QuickBooks or trying to figure it out on their own?
Yeah. So working with a bookkeeper means you have someone who's going to double check your work, and that is really important. Also, we know where things can go, because when I'm looking at an expense, I'm thinking, okay, where should this go in the chart of accounts that's really beneficial tax wise to my client, that is going to make the most sense, and what accounts can I create that is going to give the most value to my clients. So if you're just you don't have a custom chart of accounts because you don't know bookkeeping, and maybe you'll put everything in marketing and advertisement. But, someone who has looked at numerous chart of accounts can say, my client would be really beneficial. It would be beneficial to my client if I separated, these Facebook from Google expenses. So that is, worth its weight in gold, right? To have a custom chart of accounts. Also getting industry knowledge. I probably work with, other content creators who are doing similar things for my clients. And I can say, well, this is working in this person's business, so I think you should do this thing. So industry insights, having your work checked, tax-minded, categorizations, and, having someone to help you if you do get audited, someone who knows your books and can say, oh no, this is what this charge was for. Just having that external support outside of your business. And you don't want to do your business alone, right? Yeah. You don't want to focus time on bookkeeping if it's giving you a headache. You want to focus on running your business and not working on your business.
Yeah. One thing that I've really doubled down on is how can I buy back my time? So if it's going to take me something, several hours, and I'm not going to even do as good of a job as someone that's dedicated that can focus on it, then and I get a better result, and I'm not taking as much time out of my day, then I'm going to take that step and actually find somebody to do these things for me. And a lot of business owners get caught trying to do everything themselves. And at the end of the day, if you want to scale, you got to find, leverage. It's, as business owners, it's all about leverage. How can I, save time here so I can spend time on more higher leverage things? So,
great.
What about, it's end of the year, right? We are about 15 days away from the end of 2024. A couple questions. What should be people doing to prepare for the end of the year? And prepare for tax season?
Yes. So big things that you should be doing is making sure your books are in impeccable condition. Everything is in its right place. You know what was going on in your business throughout the year so that you can plan for 2025. A good, measure of how your business is doing is to look at the last, 3 to 6 months, and that's how you can plan your spending for 2025. So, making sure that your books are in order and closing out your accounts at the end of the year. That's something you can do in QuickBooks. You can set it to close to make sure that transactions that you make in 2025 don't affect 2024. And then if you do have some, spending that you need to do, say in the capital investments, and you want to buy like tech items, that you could do that when you close out your books in 2025, and you can see what you've made, how much profit you've done, if you want to do bonuses, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And what about for next year? I don't put you in the spot, but do you know of any new laws that are coming into play that are affecting tax repercussions or people with their businesses? Anything new coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, things always change year to year. One thing that you'll look out in January is 1099s. Those are due at the end of January. Every year, the value of how much you've paid the person changes. Last year it was $650. So if you paid someone over $650, then you need to report that to the IRS. That changes periodically. So looking at that at the beginning of the year to get those in by January 31st. And then tax code just changes year to year. So it really depends on your unique situation.
Yeah. Do you do taxes too?
I do partner with a firm, and we do offer tax services.
Okay. What's the difference between tax accounting and then bookkeeping?
Yeah. So your tax accountant, your bookkeeper gets everything ready for taxes. And then your tax accountant will plug those numbers in to, do your taxes at the end of the year. Pretty much they read tax code every year. I do not. I know the, basics of tax code, but if those little things that are changing, like say how much you can write off of for an electric car. That changes depending on administration, year to year, those things that they would read and know. And I'll know, the things that generally stay the same.
Yeah. Okay. So what about, are there any kind of big surprises that businesses kind of come across when they start working with the bookkeeper? Like, what are some surprises or things that people are interested to find out when they start working and actually looking at their numbers?
Yeah, that you have to reconcile your accounts at the end of the month. It's something that we do to do checks and balances within a company. I don't think a normal person would probably think to reconcile their bank account, looking at their bank account and the activity of the month just to make sure it matches up. And then, surprises, I guess, would say that, you can create custom chart of accounts and that you can use financial data to your benefit. And it's not just for tax purposes. Many people just see a tax accountant once a year, and that's to file. But you can really have someone on your side, a bookkeeper, throughout the year, where you're really thinking about those taxes all year round and planning out that, as opposed to the once a year.
Yeah. So one thing that I've noticed, and the reason why it's important for me to have a bookkeeper, is because I can start to actually know things like my advertising spend. So I may know on an aggregate basis how much I'm spending on ads, but if I can narrow down between how much I'm spending on Facebook compared to Google, and then I can actually just calculate my return based on the different types of advertising that I'm spending. But I think as business owners, what we got to do is a lot of us, we're kind of stuck in the actual day-to-day of the business. And if you want to be like a CEO, and the cool thing about business is we get to choose our own adventure. Like, some people love to do the actual thing of the business, right? Like, you're a personal trainer, you love to do training and stuff. But at some point, if you want to grow, you're going to need to do marketing, you got to do sales, you got to do the fulfillment, you got to do all this stuff, accounting and bookkeeping and all this stuff that you didn't really get into that business for. But one thing that I like to do is I like to think of how would a CEO in my industry act? And what I realize is that all they're doing is looking at numbers, and they're trying to find leverage. So, what they're going to do is they're going to look at, but you have to have the numbers. You have to have the numbers readily available. You have to be able to look at the numbers and then use those numbers to make decisions based on your different objectives. So, as business owners, the numbers are just so important, and we have to look at them on a consistent basis. But I know sometimes business owners are they just don't want to look at the numbers because they're afraid of what the numbers might tell them.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you ever get people that just are just think that the numbers are wrong completely, or do they just don't want to even participate in that part of the business? Or,
Oh yeah. 100%. And that's why it's great to have an accountant. Because we can sit in meetings where you're making crucial business decisions and give some input based on your financials. Mm-hmm. So if you're saying, okay, I've been, paying for Facebook ads, I really want to know what is the best return on investment for, me putting out these ads. How much should I pay? We can help you find that sweet spot and say, you've done really well when you've put X amount of money into your business. And, that's probably the way you should continue. Or if you want to buy some tech items, right? You want to buy 20 computers. Can you afford it? We'll let you know, right?
And just because you have the money in your bank account doesn't necessarily mean you can afford it.
Yes.
You got accounts payable, you got, all this different stuff.
Operations expenses versus capital. Yes, we can definitely help with that. And hence why you should be looking at the numbers all year round and not just tax time.
Yeah. So speaking of tax time, I don't want to pay any taxes. Can you do that for me?
Me neither.
So can you give me some tips as how, not just for me, but for other business owners, that how we can just pay as little as possible? How do we pay as little money to the government as possible?
Yeah, it really depends on your chart of accounts, right? Where are you putting your money? Is it is it a meal with a client? Or is it meals and entertainment? Or is it a travel meal? All of those make differences for tax time. Education expenses, all of these expenses make a difference. And where you put those individual transactions when you're bookkeeping could mean, I'm paying 10% on this for taxes, or I'm paying 20% on taxes. So having a custom chart of accounts and really knowing where you should put your money will save you on taxes in the long run. So you're paying a lot maybe for accounting, but you're saving it for sure in taxes.
Yeah, so some people are kind of drawn between, do I want to have a lot of profit on the books, or do I want to show as little profit as possible? Because, we're only paying taxes on the profit for the most part, depending on your business structure. But, do you have a recommendation, or how do people make a decision whether I should show a lot of profit, or should I try to increase my expenses wherever possible to diminish my profit for bookkeeping purposes?
Yeah, it depends on your goals as an individual, and also what type of business you are, right? If you are a lifestyle content creator, you probably can get away with more business expenses because you can record it. Record it. You want a gym membership, you better become a fitness influencer, and you don't want to pay for the gym. You want to write it off in your videos.
So as long as I take a camera to the gym, I can deduct everything, right?
If you're regularly posting gym content, yes.
That's a good one. Okay, I like
so
that.
That's one. Yeah, I tell everybody.
So why would somebody want to show less profit on their why would somebody want to do that?
Yeah, paying less in taxes, but also maybe profit is not necessarily your goal right now. Profit, when companies are looking to buy another company, they're not necessarily just looking at profit, but looking at how well, the company is performing in operations and, the idea of the company. Startups usually are not making money, but they still get funding. How do they get funding? By showing other ways that they are successful within their business. So profit is not the only way to show your business is successful.
Right. And so why would somebody want to show a lot of profit, for example?
Yeah. Maybe you do want to sell and, your investor is really interested in profit, or you own a lot of stock within your company and you want to value that stock higher, right? You're going to really care about profit.
Yeah.
If you want to pay yourself out of your business and, you pay yourself at the end of the year, you want to do a good bonus based on that profit, you really care about the profit because you want to pay yourself.
Yeah, a lot of people get caught up, especially new business owners, the people looking to start businesses, they get caught up in what type of entity they should create. So what is a good, or what should people consider when they're trying to create their business entity for the first time?
Yeah. They should consider their revenue and what they're going to have coming in. So if they're let's take a dentist, for instance, right? You're usually making over the threshold to be an LLC, and you probably want to pay yourself. You also probably need a hygienist and equipment and your insurance, but you're going to have patients and you're going to have steady income. You probably want to start right off with an S Corp. You do have to start off with an LLC. Let's say LLCs first. And then when you're making a steady stream of money and you want to start paying yourself a reasonable salary, that's when you're switching to S Corp.
So you have to go through the LLC first in order to become an S Corp, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. All right, and what is the main difference between like an LLC and an S Corp?
An LLC, the main difference is when you're pulling out money, you're going to be taxed higher, as opposed to when you are an S Corp, you're going to be paying yourself a salary. You'll have payroll expenses, which will be part of your write-offs, and you also can pay yourself a reasonable salary without that double taxation.
And how does a LLC compare to a sole proprietorship?
They're basically the same, except for LLCs are limited liability companies. So you can have, different types of insurance, whether that's like for me, it's errors and omission. I can have errors and omission as an LLC as opposed to a sole proprietor. So very little difference, but insurance-wise, it can make a difference. You can also register your LLC in a different state as opposed to when you're a sole proprietor, you are where you live. You do the work where you live.
Yeah. Is there a difference? Is there really much more protection in the LLC? I've heard that people say, it's like, if you ever get sued, they're not going to be able to come out your personal assets. But is that true? Like, what are the benefits of a LLC or compared to a sole proprietor?
Yeah. It depends on where, you're doing business, right? Delaware is a big company, a big state where people will put their LLCs because Delaware is very business friendly. So it really just depends on the state and the laws and the protections around businesses.
Yeah, that was a big opener for me. Is like a lot of people think, I have I have an LLC, but LLC is basically taxed the same way as a sole proprietor. Like it's still passed through taxation, so the owner still gets taxed on all the profit. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I'm curious about that whole like Delaware situation, because that's like what we hear a lot about, like in the news and TV and stuff and social media. And they're like, just incorporate in Delaware, you don't got to pay any taxes. But like, what's the real beef behind like? Could I incorporate in Delaware and I can create a corporation in Delaware and then I can pay less taxes? Is that legal?
It depends. Okay. And everything for an accountant is going to be, it depends. Yeah. It depends. We love to say it depends. It depends on your unique situation. But why people end up incorporating in Delaware is because it's a very business friendly state.
What does that mean?
Meaning that if someone were to sue you, you probably, and I'm not a lawyer, so this is not advice, but because it is business friendly, you are able to, get away with more things. Mm-hmm. That's what people think, right? They're most likely to side with the business, the state. Is it true? I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Are taxes lower in Delaware? So like the state taxes?
Yes, state taxes are lower in Delaware.
And then if somebody incorporated in Delaware but they live in a different state, do they have to pay taxes in the state that they live in also?
Yes, you still have to pay taxes in the state that you live in, but you don't pay, like California is like $800, I think, for LLC. You won't have to pay the $800. I think Delaware is like $200 or $300.
Okay.
So
the corporation taxes would be lower, but the actual wages you'd pay in the state that you live in would be based on whatever state that you're in.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Cool. All right. Well, do you have any other like tax tips? And people love to figure out how they can save money. Are there like other little things you could think of? And if not, that's fine. No. Or maybe an example of a time that you're able to save some money for a client?
Yeah. Well, we can. Since it's almost 2025, we could talk about budgets and, how you should be structuring your budgets based on your financials. You don't want, I say the perfect spot for payroll is, under, 10%, 10 to 15%. You don't want to exceed that when you think of hiring new people. When you're looking at your financials for the last couple of months and you're seeing what you can do and you're looking at your operational budget, you really want to stick to good ratios and, there's cost savings right away when you look at your operating budget and what you've done in 2024. Some things that jump out to me, like with working with an accountant, is that we automatically can get you price savings on like payroll or your banking or, sometimes your software subscriptions, depending on, who you're working, what your industry is. But thinking about that is going to save you money in the long run, as opposed to just like, being so focused on the tax breaks, but you looking at operational expenses and how you can save money there.
What I think people need is a bookkeeper for their personal finances. Yeah. Wouldn't that be cool? Like, is that something that do clients ever hit you up about that stuff too?
Yes, all the time. And I have great financial coach recommendations. And usually if someone is commingling their funds so much with their business and personal, then I will bring in a partner financial coach where we can work in tandem, and I can work on the business side and they can work on the personal side.
What's a financial coach?
Yes, a financial coach is someone who could help you build a personal budget and then work on scenarios of how you're spending your money, and maybe do some hand holding for the, first couple of months. If you're, shopping a lot, they can help you, really hone in on that budget and make it work for your lifestyle and make it realistic. That's one thing about businesses and personals. We love to make business budgets, but we don't like to stick to them. And oftentimes they are not realistic. If you're only making $30,000 a year, you can't pay yourself $20,000.
Right. Yeah, that personal financial aspect, that'd be huge. And I think more people need that. I think they have some apps and stuff like, what is it? Mint or someone. But yeah, I think that's a really interesting service. I mean, do people ever do you work with individuals as for in their personal income too?
Yeah. If they want to develop a budget or, just need help with cost savings, definitely.
Yeah, most people don't have any idea what they're, but we have to treat our personal finances like a business too.
Oh, yeah.
But it's really hard to do that. And a lot of us don't want to spend money on a bookkeeper, but for business and even less so in the personal life. But I feel like that would be a really, really good thing. I'm trying to think now I got to do that for my business, for my personal finances, I mean, that's we need to know how much we brought in, personally, and how much is left over, what our, because our personal finances, we have to manage them just the same way we manage a business.
Oh, yeah. And when you think about your business finances, you're really looking at it at a holistic approach. You're looking at your 401k, you're looking at, your health insurance. If this is, your main business, you're thinking about those things and adding it into your budget. So your business finances often do pour into your personal life and your personal expenses and what you're paying.
Yeah. I mean, you have, your spending, then you have your savings, and then so how much you earn, how much you spend, and then you have what do you do with the money that's left over? Some people can, put it in different financial instruments or invest in real estate or stuff like that. But
that tax money that you have saved in the separate bank account, you might have it, invested somewhere, just sitting, waiting for you to pay taxes.
Yeah, tell us more about that. So what if I have why would somebody have their money into a separate bank account for tax purposes?
Yeah. So if you are making money, my suggestion would be you're putting money aside for taxes. You're saving.
For businesses,
for
right?
your businesses. Yeah, for your business. So, if you're making money, I automatically save 30%. Because I know, I'm going to have to pay taxes. Do I ever really fully use the full 30%? Usually not, because I have so many expenses. It offsets, but businesses usually fail because of taxes. They just end up owing so much money and they were not prepared. That's really hurts businesses in the first couple of years. So putting 30% of your income into a separate account, and maybe that is an investment vehicle, right? Because the money will sit there for a while. So maybe you're investing it, or it's in, a high yield savings, something like that, where it's earning money for you, but sitting, waiting, ready if you come in a tax situation where you need to pay it out.
Yeah, but probably not buying crypto with your tax savings, right?
No. It's low level, definite returns savings.
How big of a pain in the butt is crypto for accounting and bookkeeping and stuff?
It's really not such a huge issue, right? Because we can value it right now. And, people often will pay for things with crypto. So it's not a huge deal, especially in the startup world. It's, I think exchanges of stock are more hard to put on the balance sheet than crypto. No, I don't think it's hard.
Okay, so with a separate financial account for your taxes, I mean, is that ideal, or should you be making regular payments? Is that something that people do? Do they make payments towards their taxes as well?
Yes, but you can make quarterly payments, right? But where is that money going to sit until it's ready? Just knowing, when you have money coming into your account, having that auto, saving for the taxes is ideal. So, you get $100, you're putting $30 automatically into that account. And, depending on your personal tax situation, that amount can change. So I say 30%, you could do 20%. It depends on where you live, work, and how much, what tax bracket you're in.
Yeah. Well, last year I grew faster than I expected. And so I had a big tax bill, had like 15 grand I had to pay. And I found out a cool little trick, which is that the IRS, when you propose a payment plan, I guess they have to accept it. Mm-hmm. And so
they want you to pay your bills.
Yeah. And it's interest-free.
They're willing to work with you.
Yeah.
You don't want to put yourself in a tax situation, right? Because, maybe that would work one year. But the next year, if you don't have the cash coming in, it's probably going to cripple you. $15,000 is a lot of debt to put in a small business.
That's true.
So year after year, it probably wouldn't work.
Yeah, I get that.
And when you think of like cash management, it's probably better to save on the forefront than it is, later on.
Cool. We got a few more minutes. What are some tips that somebody can use when they're looking for a bookkeeper? Yeah,
look at someone who you mesh with, who you like, right? You're going to be talking to this person hopefully every month, right? What if they're offering that service? For me, I offer every client monthly service, a monthly meeting. So I'm talking to you a lot. Mm-hmm. You probably want to like me if you're talking to me a lot. You probably don't want to butt heads. And also someone who's going to support your business and who believes in your business. You don't want someone who is like, I don't know if that's a good idea. Well, give me some tips on, what I should do. Or if, they're not the right fit, they're not the right fit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're just about out of time, but how can people get a hold of you?
Yes. So you can visit my website at Vehar, Vehar, consulting.com. And we're also on Instagram and Facebook.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been fun, very educational, inspirational, and looking forward to. By the way, I'm a client of Nhela's also, and awesome, amazing work, and looking forward to just doing everything that we're doing together. So thank you for everything you've done so far.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Until next time, guys, like, subscribe, and all that junk. See you next time. Bye-bye.